Welcome to another edition of Job Board Secrets on YouTube, where we discuss the business of the job board industry. Today, we're talking to the founder of RollieJobs. It's a new B2B slash government tech startup centered around jobs and data. And here to talk about them and what they do is Alex Sadanai. He's their CEO and co-founder. He joins me now from South Bend, Indiana. Hey, Alex.
Hey Chris, how's it going?
It's going well here, going well. So I
Good.
discovered you recently. I think I threw a Google alert or something on job boards or something like that.
Yeah,
So I discovered you. I wrote about you on the blog under
awesome.
some new job board tools that I'd found. But let's get into it. What is Rolly Jobs and why did you start it there?
Rollie Jobs is it started out as a hyper local jobs platform, and so the reason we kind of got into this work was because um, we were in proximities to some. It started with chambers of commerce actually,
Hmm.
and so we noticed that a lot of chambers of commerce had these job boards on their websites. And chambers sit in this really unique spot between local business and the community, right? They're kind of in this unique um, area that a lot of other entities just don't really fit into. And so when we started looking at these chamber job boards, we started to notice that not a lot of them were very well populated. And so we started to kind of go around and interview and ask questions. And, um, you know, all the chambers kind of came back with the same sentiment, which was, hey, if we could actually populate this job board, it would probably be really valuable. We know the unique spot we sit in. We think it'd be of great value to the business and the community as well as the community members. But we just don't have enough bandwidth or time to basically hunt down all the jobs at our member companies, get them into this spot, and then post them online and then monitor them as time is going on. Right. So we said we think we can solve that problem. And that's essentially what Rolly did. So we went out there and we created this platform that basically just allows you to follow companies and then pull back all the open jobs from those companies at any given point in time. And so, our first uh, customer, I guess, our pilot was with our local chamber here in South Bend, Indiana, the
Hmm.
South Bend Regional Chamber. When we started working with them, they had 18 jobs on their job board, and we took them to 5,000 in a week. So, and kept all those up to date in real time.
Are those just jobs in the area, or are they jobs specifically for their members?
So in this case, they're jobs specifically for their member companies.
Okay.
So think of it this way, like Rolly allows you to follow a company and then pull back all the jobs for that company.
Okay. So your customer is Chambers of Commerce. Um, okay. Any difficulty selling into that? Is it a challenge? Is it slow or?
No, not really. I mean, so we started with chambers of commerce, and that's going really well. Chambers are really receptive to this. I think, it was funny when we talked to people when we were thinking about building this. Every chamber we talked to either had a job board that wasn't going very well, or used to have a job board that they stopped managing because it wasn't going very well.
Right. Yeah. They're not in the business
So
of job boards, so they don't really know how to manage them.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, well, and it's like, for businesses, it's like we've already put our jobs online in these other places, and to give it to you and manage it through you again is like a whole nother lift for their member businesses. So I think,
Right.
we're really smoothing that out for them. We're also working with higher ed. And I can, get into the demo a little bit here and kind of show you a little bit about how that can be helpful. But we're doing higher ed, chambers of commerce, economic development organizations, and workforce development organizations. So,
Okay.
Rolly gives you the ability as well to follow individual job seekers and help connect them with jobs. So, we're working right now with a group called InVets, which is an Indiana-based nonprofit that helps veterans returning from active duty find job placements in the state. So they're using Rolly right now as well. And then we've got the University of Notre Dame on there in a couple capacities. And yeah, and we're still pretty young. We're less than a year old. So we're kind of just getting started,
Yep. Funded or bootstrapped?
bootstrapped.
Okay.
Yep.
How big's your team?
So Rolly actually is a company that's a spin out from another entity we own called CodeWorks.
Okay.
So CodeWorks is a digital product studio that focuses in the space where technology meets social impact. So, we really like to focus on sort of the human-centered tech and where we can help make people's lives better or easier, those kinds of things. And so, right now we've got about two full-time members on this and then a bunch of fractional members as well.
Okay. What's your rev model? How do you charge for this? What do you charge? Give me some details there.
Sure. So the way we charge is kind of based on your region size, like how big your region is that you're following companies in. So for like a small city or town or county, our base tier is $5,000 per year. And then, once we get up into sort of the regional plays, we jump up to like an $8,500 tier. And then there's a custom tier after that where we kind of look at what are you looking for? And that's where we start to transition into what we call hyper industry. So from hyper local to hyper industry. So a hyper industry example would be maybe you have a company that works in R&D and innovation spaces, and you just want to follow all the companies that hire um, any type of job around for any type of job around hypersonics. So you're following all of those jobs to kind of get a read on, what sort of skills are being trained in these areas and what types of positions are people hiring for.
Okay. Um, what's the setup like for like a chamber? Do you do everything?
Yeah. So great question. So typically the way it works is the chamber signs on, they give us their list. All we need is a list of URLs for the companies you want to follow. We do the initial import there. And then after we kind of get everything settled and rolling, we usually say to give us about a week to do that. Then you're off to the races. And you can, at that point, you can add more businesses in if you want. Um, you know, Stop following businesses, do things like that. But the ongoing management then is pretty manageable from a team or an individual's perspective.
Okay. I want you to show us a quick demo there. Let me make sure you can share your screen.
Yeah,
Let's see, share settings. We'll go ahead and try. I think it'll pay me to give you
yeah.
permission. So there you go.
Accept your
Okay,
request.
perfect.
Great. All right. Got me okay there?
And there's a bit of a data play too with this, right? You're showing some insights around the job listings, which is interesting to me.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, so this is kind of our standard demo here. This is the South Bend Regional Chambers dashboard. So this is kind of their admin view inside of Rolly, right? And so they got about 770 companies, 771 companies in here that they're following. And of those 700 companies, we've got about 4,790 jobs plus some remote work jobs that are showing up in here. And so with all of this, what this leads to is ultimately this public facing job board here. So this is the chamber's public facing website, right? Going to the community. And this is where Rolly comes in, right? So you can start to see the jobs that the chamber is showcasing here. We've got all 4,700 some jobs in here. And, they got their list of featured employers up here. But the cool thing that Rolly does is it gives you some really neat tools on the front end for as a job seeker, right? So in the community, if I'm coming in here, you see it says search jobs with AI. So I
Hmm.
can certainly come in here and look for anything with the word manager in it. I'll leave the thing for a minute, and it'll give me nursing manager, financial center manager, etc. But I can also come in and say something like, I want to work outdoors, don't want an office job. And we will use that to find the best matching jobs for that, right? So, operating engineer apprenticeship program, seasonal driver mower, roofer, garage door installer. So, it'll start trying to find me jobs that match my
Hmm.
description here. We've even done things like test this with a 5 paragraph essay on how much someone loves teaching, right? And put this in and see what kinds of jobs, and it pulls back all the teaching jobs, right?
Yeah.
You can
Let me ask you
also,
a question on
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
what I know it's early yet, but what are job seekers doing? Are they doing that? Or are they putting just job titles? Give me a sense of what the percentages are there.
Yeah, great question. So actually what they're mostly using is this feature right here, which is where you
Oh,
can just drop a resume in and really will
okay.
match the jobs to your resume. So most individuals are using this.
That's interesting. I've never seen that, upload your resume and sort of the job search form, I guess you could call it,
Yeah. And
today.
the nice thing about this too is putting your resume in here doesn't send it to the organization using it. It just stays in the system to
It,
find the
it
jobs
creates a
that match.
query, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not, one of the things we're really passionate about with Rolly is we know the businesses don't want to create another account to put their jobs in, right? And they don't want to have to do all that back and forth. So Rolly takes care of that. On the job seeker side, we're trying to make it as simple as possible. We don't think anyone wants to create another LinkedIn account, right? So, for here, we think give them the tools to find the best match as quickly as possible. And this resume lookup is the fastest possible way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can companies
So
also post jobs on the public facing job board?
so they don't have to because if they post it through their own means, Rolly will get it.
Gotcha. So there's no job posting at all. It's all just scraping from the back end, essentially.
Yes,
Right.
yep. It's
Okay.
pulling, it's scraping and pulling and doing it's doing a
So
little
you,
bit more than that. It's
yeah, so you're really an job aggregator versus like a traditional job board, right?
correct. Yeah. And
That's interesting.
the unique thing about Lily is it's a very sophisticated piece of software in the sense that um, it doesn't just grab the jobs that are easy to find, right? So in these 771 jobs here for or companies here for the South End Regional Chamber, we know 40% of these companies are using non-syndicated ATSs, right? So this is like people who just throw a random page up on their website or they use some weird, wacky WordPress plugin and Rolly will grab all of those. Rolly is so good that it will even grab, like, if you have a restaurant and the restaurant posts a blurb somewhere on their website that says always hiring servers, Rolly will grab that and call that a job and put it in the system.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
it's really what Rolly is it is the most accurate boots on the ground view of the jobs that are open in your community at any given point in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else can you do in this admin here?
Yeah, sure. So, you can see some of the high level stats here. You get your company page here or companies page here where you can add companies. But I can also click into a company as well. Rolly builds a profile on each company. So it gets, company overview, mission values, key differentiators, products,
Ah, that I
services.
like. Yeah, I've been calling for that. I have like some kind of, career intelligence on that company.
Yeah, so you get some good insights here, and then Rolly also keeps track of the jobs it's picked up in the past. So it'll take a second here because I'm loading some long-term data,
Right.
but
Show me a kind of a historical snapshot of that company's
yep,
hiring efforts.
yeah. So I get from the
Yes.
point Rolly starts following them, I kind of get their new and removed jobs and the net, right? So I can start to see what's going on here from a community standpoint. This is really helpful because you can start to see which companies are kind of going on a hiring spree, which ones are slowing down, any sudden upticks, things like that. And then you get per company the listings of jobs in your region that you're following, right? So you can see that. But yeah, really simple company management. The way you add a company is just putting in their URL and Rolly follows them.
Yep.
Um, so you don't have to do a bunch of data entry or anything like that.
Now the member companies don't have their own admin, right? They just
Nope.
opt
Yeah.
into this, right? Okay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
They're opting in, like in this case, with their membership to the chamber.
right, okay.
Right. Um, yeah. You also
Hey,
get, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
do they ever want to do that though? Do they ever like say, hey, we just change this or I guess
Like,
not, right? It's
yeah, I
they
mean,
just contact the chamber in that case, I guess.
yeah. And I think, everyone wants their jobs posted. The thing we've found is like with most chambers, like they're getting more requests for membership because people want to show up on the job board.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think when it comes to finding employees, it's a value add, right? No one's sitting there saying, hey, please remove my data. If they do say that, and again, we've been open for less than a year and we haven't had that happen once, but if they did, we have protocols to handle that.
Right.
um, so not a huge deal, but I mean, I can come in here and I can start to see actually like the performance of this job board as well. So you select to load up some stats, but I can see, how many unique visitors have been here, impressions, all of that. See top search terms. This is where I get the top resume search,
Okay,
top clips by company, the top filters people are using when they're searching for jobs, top impressions
that's
by
cool. Yep.
company. And I can even see the top jobs by click, right?
Scroll
So
back up again to the
yeah,
main numbers there.
yeah.
So job click searches. Okay. Where is do you have an apply click stat? Like how many times they click the apply button? I assume the apply button goes to off to where that job lives, right?
Yes, yep, it
Okay,
does.
so
So that's top jobs by clicks right
top
here.
jobs by clicks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is where you kind of see where people
Most
are
of the
gravitating.
software in the industry today calls it an apply click, just
Mm.
FYI,
Okay, cool. Yeah, good to know.
for
There
nomenclature because
is,
it's it gives more context around the click itself. There's
I
view,
like
job
that.
views, and apply clicks is really what I think you're looking at there.
Okay, very cool. Yeah,
Um,
good note. I
yep.
will definitely add that to our list. And so you do get some of that functionality here in the job seekers module. So this is really where more of the workforce development folks live when they use our platform. Um, so in here, you have the ability to add an individual, and you can start to see, well, these are all demo individuals, but you start to see, kind of information about this individual. This is all through a resume upload. This person has given their resume and given consent
Yep.
to use this at this point. But you can use that resume then to find jobs for this individual based on the jobs you have in your data. So a little bit different than the individual going and doing sort of the self-serve process. This is more of, you have a team member who's trying to help someone get a job. So they have some additional context around what that individual is looking for. But you can come in here and say, hey, use the semantic context of this resume. Let's use their skills. They want a full-time job. And then you can come in here and say, hey, this job looks like a really good fit. Rollie will do an evaluation on this, and it says Erica engineer is not quite qualified for this position as the job requires a licensed professional engineer. So you can say, oh, never mind on that one. And then you can say maybe this one here, right? Also not qualified. Let's try this one. Is qualified, right? So we'll save this job over here. You can see it's showing up on her listing there. And now I can share this and share this link to this posting with Erica. And now she gets all the jobs that I flagged for her. So this is kind of like a curated job board just for this individual.
Yep.
And they can come in and they can view this job. They can look at this job and say, hey, yeah, this is great. I'd like to apply to this job. This one's a demo. So the job listings are old. So this one's not here.
Gotcha.
But so she could click on that over here in my account. I can then see that she clicked the apply button here and tried to go to that job. I also get an activity timeline on, how she's interacting with the jobs I've saved for her. And then there's some, stuff that I think is kind of like a guarantee at this point, but we get some resume grading in here. So we need to help her with her resume, right? She's got a really low grade on this resume right now. And Rollie will give you recommendations on how to do that. Yeah.
Does the chamber really care that much about the seekers data, though? I mean, I wouldn't see them using this that much. I mean, just
No, this is not really a chamber of commerce feature. This is
okay.
more workforce development related.
Our
So
first
like,
them. Okay. Okay. I see what you
yeah,
mean. So
yeah.
different
So
client
like,
base. Okay.
yeah, the nonprofits that are helping individuals, we've talked with
I
groups
got
that
you.
are,
Okay.
placing refugees, or like the group I mentioned with the veterans, right? They're um, like InVets, the group I mentioned is managing 900 job seekers in here at any given point in time. So, they're focused on that.
Yep.
Um, yeah. And then you
Have
get
you,
some,
do you
oh,
have any
go
of those
ahead.
types of clients yet, or are you still trying to get those?
Oh yeah, no, no, no. We've got them. We've got them. They're using them. Some of the higher ed use cases are in here, right? So they're helping students who are trying to find work, or recent grads who are trying to find work. We've also got.
So are you trying
Um,
to go after that after handshake and those kind of players as far as a tool like this goes, or
yeah, I mean, I think that this could be a nice complement to Handshake. This is a little bit different than a Handshake, right? So Handshake requires profiles on both ends, the student and the employer. And so Rolly is a little bit more I guess, loose in terms of it's not a gated platform, right? You're just streamlined through. So, like, what you can do in here, another thing you can do in Rolly is you can also do job classifications. So you can classify by like internships and apprenticeships or healthcare. And then what you can do is you can create boards just for those kinds of jobs, right? So this board right here is internships and apprenticeships. This one, I think, stays populated at around 200. It's at 145 today.
Hmm.
So, it's usually between 150, 200. But like for this group, they're sending this to their internship and apprenticeship partners in the community. For colleges and universities, what you're able to do then is create job boards per your degree bearing programs, right? So you can say, like, here's a job board for everyone who's going computer science based on the companies we have partnerships with or companies we want to have partnerships with. And then you can get
Gotcha.
those jobs in students' hands. And then what you can do with the job seekers profile is help the students who may be struggling to find work after they graduate a little bit more directly in a little bit more hands-on way. So, it's just a little bit more like a little bit of a quicker solution, I guess, than something like a handshake where, you require some onboarding and you got to create accounts and get people bought in.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. What's
The
your vision? Okay.
I
Sorry. Go ahead.
just yeah no just one last feature I want to throw out here at you, Chris, is we also have this MCP server functionality. So what Rolly does is it also connects in with your generative AI tool like Claude or ChatGPT, and it allows those tools then to query the data straight from Rolly. So you can ask a question like, how many RM positions are open right now in our region? Show me a breakdown by company sorted from most to fewest. It will return this data for you. You can also do things like, hey, we're trying to build some AI related programming here. Oh, let me refresh this. And no, it didn't like that. Hope you can edit this part out. Great. Now it's crashing. All right. Well, I'll do this one. Let's see if this works. Here we go. Okay. So here's another example. You can
Hmm.
do things like location quotient analysis, right? So we're taking BLS raw data from 2024 and Rolly data for Berrien County, Michigan here. And what we're able to do then is say, hey, based on your BLS location quotient data, agriculture, forestry, and fishing were one of your top tier industries, right? You're at a 2.42 in your location quotient. In Rolly, you've only got 3% of your jobs in this industry. So either something has changed since 2024, or you're missing some companies in your data set here, right? Similarly, on the other side of this, healthcare and social assistance is just below a one in their LQ data from 2024, but 27% of their jobs are in this industry. So it might be time to do some evaluation and see, like, hey, are we really accelerating in healthcare and social assistance just based on the percentage of jobs in this industry we're starting to see in our jobs data.
Yeah.
So you can do some fun things like that with the data directly from Rolly in an AI tool.
Very cool. Um, yeah, it's pretty interesting product here, Alex. I mean, I like some of the innovative stuff you've done here with the jobs and the data and how you go about searching and things like that. So I give you guys some
Oh,
kudos there. What's your
thank you.
vision for this? Like, do you envision this going like, nationwide as far as like creating a big national job board, or you just want to stay kind of focused here? Give me some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is, we want to get this product in as many hands as possible. I think, the unique thing that Rolly does is it surfaces all kinds of jobs, right? So it's not just the big companies that Rolly gets. It'll certainly get the companies that are going to have hundreds of jobs listed at any given time, but it's also going to find, the small local machine shop that's only going to post 1 to 5 jobs a year. So I think from that standpoint, getting it into more regional hands, we are having conversations with some different state entities that are looking at statewide application and, how can we do that, especially across specific verticals, whether it's industry or job type or something like that. Um, Yeah, so I think, sky's kind of the
Are you
limit in
talking
our
like a
mind.
Department of Labor type stuff for states?
Um, Department of Labor, statewide kind of workforce initiatives, things like that.
Yeah.
Statewide
We've seen a
institutions.
lot. Yeah, we've seen a lot of like that stuff over the years, like just different, economic development stuff. I know Smart Job Board just something with
Mm,
the Michigan State Economic Development. I think they actually ran out of money or something like that.
yeah,
And I don't think that site's around anymore. Like that's
yeah,
one issue you might have,
yep,
going forward, getting funding or something like this, but because that can change over time.
yeah,
Um, but I've
yeah.
seen that play before as far as going after that market.
Yeah, I think the trick with that one is, how it costs money to process this much data. We're familiar
Right.
with the Michigan um,
It's not
playbook.
really, it doesn't make them money. It just helps them. It's a value add, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. A chamber of commerce can make money off of RollieJobs, right? So like you can sell sponsorships to it, you can do featured employers, things like
oh, you
that.
could, okay.
It makes it really, really friendly at that community level, and rather than just being a line on the loss sheet, you also get that revenue potential
So
out of
there are
it.
upsells in the back end there.
It doesn't happen directly through Rolly,
Hmm.
but the functionality where you have your featured employers up here, like these are premium members for this Chamber of Commerce. You've
Okay.
got a sponsorship page here.
So South
Um,
Bend then charges a higher fee to be a featured employer
yes,
to
yeah,
join.
it's
Yeah.
part of your premium membership
Gotcha.
essentially. So your different folks are doing different things, and I think we do have a blog on that on our website of how different groups are using it from a monetization perspective. um, but yeah, I think yes, different than maybe a statewide play. I think there are still opportunities from a state level with workforce development. That's kind of where we're seeing some hope, and I think maybe something better than like the economic development play where like the Michigan example, there's kind of failure there because there wasn't a direct sort of profit line to the job postings.
Yep. So for the audience, this was sbrchamber.com.
Mhm.
That's where you can go find this. Okay. Just
Yep.
click on is there a menu item there? Oh, talent. Okay.
Yep. Talents, job
Talent
board.
job board. Okay.
Yep.
Click on talent and go to job board there from there if you want to check it out on your own. Very cool, Alex. So it's RollieJobs.com. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
The URL. Okay. Very cool. And any last words? Are you working on anything new right now as far as features go?
Yeah, we've got some cool new stuff in the works for the rest of the year. I mean, the big thing we're always working on is the engine behind it, right? We're trying to make the jobs, as accurate and as real time as possible, and it takes a lot of work to do that, especially at that deep community level that we're looking at.
Mhm.
So that's a pretty heavy part of our lift, but we got a lot of fun functionality and features coming out over the
Yeah.
next 6 months here.
All built with AI, I assume.
Built with the help of AI. But yes,
Okay.
Rolly is an AI native system, right? So it's built in the AI era and it's utilizing all of that functionality.
Very cool. Well, definitely wish you luck, Alex, and the
Thank
team
you.
there. And yeah, curious to see how it evolves. But I like what I see so far. I think you're on the right track there at least. And yeah, you're really curious to see how it all evolves.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks for watching Job Board Secrets. See you next time. And feel free to reach out to myself or Alex if you want to learn more about the early job. So thanks a lot.